A struggling teacher was fired for protecting a poor child, but her new principal changed everything. It was a gray Monday morning when Emma Blake, a soft-spoken elementary school teacher, stood outside the glass-paneled office of Principal Granger, holding back tears. Her palms were clammy, heart pounding as if it wanted to scream the truth she hadn't been allowed to say. After 10 years of teaching with love, patience, and almost no recognition, she was being fired. Not for incompetence. Not for misconduct. But for kindness. It had all started 3 weeks earlier when a shy boy named Mateo transferred into her third-grade class. Mateo wore the same hoodie every day, his shoes 2 sizes too small, and his lunchbox often empty. Emma, whose own childhood was marked by food stamps and shared beds, recognized the look in his eyes, hunger, not just of the stomach, but of the soul. He never asked questions. Never raised his hand. He sat like a shadow in the corner of her classroom. One Friday afternoon, as rain beat against the windows and students buzzed with weekend energy, Emma noticed Mateo sitting alone long after the final bell rang. She knelt beside him. "Why aren't you going home, sweetheart?" He looked up, eyes rimmed with red. "Mama said wait here. She's trying to get off work early. She walks." Emma's heart cracked. It was nearly dark, and the temperature was dropping fast. She waited with him, offering her own granola bar. When his mother finally arrived, soaked, breathless, apologizing, Emma didn't scold or question. She simply smiled and walked them both to the corner of the street with her umbrella. The next week, Mateo showed up without a backpack. Emma quietly collected extras from the lost and found and sent him home with school supplies. She bought him lunch 3 times when he forgot his card. She kept it quiet, no pity, just protection. But word got out. Another parent, one with influence and a short fuse, accused Emma of favoritism after her own son complained Mateo was getting special treatment. The district, desperate to avoid conflict, launched an investigation. Emma was called into the principal's office and told to step back from Mateo. She didn't. 2 days later, Mateo showed up with a deep bruise on his arm. When Emma gently asked him what happened, he whispered something that made her stomach turn cold. "My mom's boyfriend doesn't like me." Emma did what any decent human would. She called Child Protective Services. She followed protocol. But in the eyes of the school board, she had overstepped. It didn't matter that Mateo needed help, it mattered that she hadn't played politics. So she was fired. As she packed up her small classroom, the one with the hand-painted rainbow banner that said, "Every child matters," she found a crumpled note tucked under her keyboard. It was from Mateo. In shaky letters, it read, "You're the only one who ever saw me." Emma cried that night. Not for herself, but for all the children like Mateo who slipped through cracks because kindness doesn't follow procedure. Days turned into weeks. Emma applied to over a dozen schools, facing rejection after rejection. Her savings dwindled. She started substitute teaching wherever she could, often driving an hour for just half a day's pay. Still, she refused to give up on education. It wasn't just a job to her, it was a calling. Then one snowy morning in February, she got a phone call. "Miss Blake. This is Principal Harris from North Ridge Academy. I've reviewed your resume, and I'd like to meet with you." North Ridge was a private charter school known for its progressive teaching style and community-focused mission. Emma hesitated. She had no fancy credentials. But Principal Harris had read about her story in a small local paper, a story someone had anonymously submitted. He didn't see a problematic teacher. He saw courage. When Emma walked into his office for the interview, she braced herself for another polite dismissal. Instead, Principal Harris offered her a cup of tea and said, "You're exactly what we need." He didn't ask about policies first, he asked about children. Emma started the following Monday. Her classroom was small but bright. The school allowed flexible curriculum, meaning she could use real-world examples to teach. Her first unit: Voices Unheard, a project on empathy and invisible struggles. She watched in awe as students opened up about their lives, started writing letters to local shelters, and held a bake sale to donate books to underfunded schools. Then came the day she never expected. It was a warm spring morning, and Emma was setting up a story circle when she saw a familiar face peeking through the window. Mateo. Now wearing a clean uniform, backpack slung neatly over one shoulder. His eyes still held that depth, but this time, they shimmered. Principal Harris walked in with him and smiled. His mother recently got housing support and transferred him here. When we saw your name on his previous school records, he lit up. Emma couldn't move. Mateo ran to her, hugged her waist tightly, and whispered, "I told Mama, you'd find us again." The room blurred as Emma knelt to his height. "No, sweetheart, you found me." In the months that followed, Mateo blossomed. He became class president, started a kindness club, and even gave a speech at the school assembly about second chances. His closing line echoed through the auditorium. "Sometimes the person who saves you doesn't wear a cape. They carry a lesson plan." The room gave him a standing ovation. Emma never sought praise. But in that moment, surrounded by clapping students and teary-eyed staff, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: belonging. Her story was picked up by a national education podcast. Soon, teachers from around the country reached out, sharing similar experiences. Emma began advocating for child-first policies in schools, reminding institutions that education is not just about grades, it's about dignity. Years later, Emma would be named Teacher of the Year by the state. But her proudest moment remained a small, handwritten note she kept in her desk drawer. "You're the only one who ever saw me." She carried it everywhere. Because that single sentence was a reminder that sometimes, doing the right thing costs everything, but what you gain in return is immeasurable. In a world that often rewards silence and punishes heart, Emma Blake stood as proof that compassion is never wasted. And sometimes, the child you save will grow into the voice that changes everything.